So the NFL draft coming up in 16 days. What are the Commanders' needs? According to NFL.com, I believe Dan Parr wrote this video or this article talking about the Commanders' needs at pick number 29 going into this draft. Edge rusher is their number one need. Cornerback, wide receiver, safety, and offensive line. I think the good thing that they've done here, BMitch, going into the NFL draft, what Adam Peters has done a good job of is there are still holes on the roster, but there's nothing glaring. Like if they had to suit up and play right now, I think they could play where they don't feel like anywhere is a giant weakness.
What they've done is put themselves in position to where when they get to a pick, they can go with best player available.
Yeah.
Instead of having that pressure to get a person at a particular spot, you know? And I think being in that situation makes it a lot easier, and it confuses the other teams. You know, when other teams know what you're going to pick, that's when they start calling people before you, and they don't know who the hell they're picking. They don't know where they're leaning to because all of the little signings and things they did in this offseason, hell, you came with Debo. You got your another receiver. You got Tonzo. You got your left tackle. Okay? The kid Martin, he's may not be the biggest name, but he has a lot of lean and stuff when it comes to pass rushing. So you may have somebody at the position, but you're still going to need a younger guy. So I think if they were to go and say, listen, we're going to get bigger and better on the lines, they could pick all people like that. A running back falls to you. They could draft a running back. Well, not saying they don't need to or they have to, but they could.
So I'm curious on your thoughts on this. When I look at the offense right now, I think they're a weapon short. And I don't know that it necessarily matters where it is. I think a dynamic running back, so like to your point, if at 29, if they were to want Trevion Henderson out of Ohio State, or if Omarion Hampton or someone fell there, a dynamic running back could be that guy. A speedy receiver could be that guy. A good pass-catching tight end to go along with Zach Ertz could be that guy. I feel like they're a weapon shy because you've got Debo Samuel who kind of opens it up horizontally the way that he can go all around the field. I don't necessarily feel great about the running back room. I think they're okay, but I think dynamic you want.
But I think the thing about it, when you have receivers like a Terry and a Debo, Zach is still very effective. You don't need to be super dynamic with a quarterback like that, like Jaden.
Yeah.
He allows you to be not as dynamic at the running back position to where you can do some things. I think Debo is also going to be an extension of the running back room where now when he's getting those screens and stuff on the edges, those defensive backs don't want to deal with him one-on-one. So this team has been set up in a way where it's not traditionally how you set up an offense. Because they got guys that are going to be playing positions and doing things that you don't ordinarily see.
I think the one thing that I want out of the offense this year that maybe you didn't get as much as you had last year is a little more explosiveness. And they were very efficient last year.
They averaged damn near 30 points a game last year.
I'm not saying they couldn't do it. Yeah. I'm just saying like they were built on efficiency, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I want a guy either in the backfield or maybe you get a guy that can go deep in the passing game outside of Terry, where instead of every time it's we got to pick up 5 yards, stay ahead of the chains, and we're working long, 6-7 minute drives. You can have that one dude where you want to read option with Jaden. He hands it to the running back, and he's gone for 65.
But see, the thing about that is this. The quicker you score, the quicker the other team get the opportunity to score. If you can get plays where you go 10, 12 plays, and you score a touchdown, pressure goes onto their offense.
Sure.
Now they get one-dimensional. They take risks, and they put you in a better position. That happened last year. I want them to be explosive, but I still want them to be able to, take some time down the field where you put that pressure on them. Or at the end of a game, you need 10, 12 play drive to shut it out. Do it.
Yeah, I think I want something where that's at least an option, because like last year, outside of Terry, Diami did it in the playoffs, but during the regular season, maybe not as much. I don't feel like they had a super dynamic weapon. Not to say that Zach Ertz wasn't really reliable, not to say that Austin Eckler wasn't good. Outside of Terry McLaurin, and obviously they're going to roll coverage his way knowing he's the true top guy, they didn't have somebody that was like, ooh, that's a one-play touchdown waiting to happen. And maybe Debo gives you a little bit of that, but he's more so still like the side-to-side. And like you said, DBs don't want to tackle him, so maybe that
he's
plays into that.
Like the play that Terry had in Detroit, where he split the guys and win.
Yes.
Debo is very capable of that. And a lot of times, the fact that Terry's over there, he's going to have man-to-man or one guy trying to deal with him. There's not many defensive backs. There may be a couple, but not many of them are going to take Debo Samuels down one-on-one.
Yeah, I just think if you added one more,
Yeah.
whether it's a speed guy on the outside or if you could add a dynamic running back or even another pass-catching tight end.
I am with this mindset. Offensively, they are effective enough
Correct.
to compete with anybody in the league. They need to be able to stop some people.
I agree on that.
That's why I'm like, go defense.
Yeah.
Because right now, I think if you talk to people, you got to take one side or the other. Offensive, defense, where you have the most confidence, it's offense.
Yeah.
Easily.
100%. Yeah, I don't think there's any question there. Defensively, I think that's the only place where there's not a glaring hole on the roster to what I said earlier. But I think the biggest hole for me right now is still edge rusher.
Yeah.
Because you got to figure out what you're doing outside of Dorrance Armstrong. Javonte Jean-Baptiste, you can use Dietrich Wise as someone you brought in there. But those are kind of journeyman dudes. I don't know how much you want to depend on them to be your second dude. I think if you could get someone at 29 that can be a difference maker that you can build into your defense, I think that's the route I'm looking. But to your point, too, they're in a spot where if they go, studs,
if they draft
29.
big and outside pass rush at 29, I have no problem with it. But I read a thing this morning where Cleveland has proposed a thing for Brian Robinson. Whether or not it's something that's going to happen or not, I don't know. But they were trying to offer one of their, fourth-round picks, I think it was, and another pick. If I just believe they now have about, 5, 6 picks.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll have more before the draft comes.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
What's your philosophy on the draft picks? Because some people, it's like, screw the picks, give me the talent. I tend to understand that, and I don't disagree with that. But when you're trying to build the roster, I think the draft picks are important.
If I get a young, talented player that's going to be here for a while, I'll take that player over draft picks. If a guy has established himself already and is going to come in, I'll take it any day. But if I can't get that type of guy, I want to have more opportunities.
Sure.
Or more choices. And the thing about it, I watched Adam last year, and you watch how Dan and his staff, they can go out there and take a guy and bring all that talent out of it. They know how to do it.
Yeah.
Adam seems to be giving them the right guys. So those guys watch this thing on a daily basis, and they dissect the hell out of it. They probably already know who they want or the guys they're going to pick. What I love about them most, they don't give you much information.
Definitely don't. No one, I mean,
They
no
don't
one
give you
heard
much at all.
No one heard any rumblings about Tunsil. That came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But
I like that.
We were in here, and when the news broke, and I'm like, Tunsil? They traded for Tunsil? Like, where'd that come from? But to your point, BMitch, when it comes to the draft picks, because I think I lean more draft than a lot of people, but that's something I love. So I understand that that's maybe a weakness of mine. When you look at the moves that they've made, I don't have an issue with giving up draft picks for a guy like Lattimore, where last year you got him for a rental for half a year, but then you also get 2 more years. Yeah. So he's here for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
You trade for Tunsil, he's going to be here for the entirety of Jaden's contract, right? Yeah. Like that's your franchise left tackle for the next 4 or 5 years. Debo is the one that was not. You gave up a 5th rounder. So I think the trades make sense. I don't necessarily love that they don't have all the picks because you're still trying to build this thing. But if you're going to do it and you're going to be aggressive moving picks in a rebuild of sorts, which has got accelerated because you found the quarterback, I think those are the sorts of moves that you make.
Yeah, because like what they did, instead of going draft a guy and having to see if he's going to pan out, they went and got a guy that you know how he can do it. And yes, he had a great year. He was down a little bit last year, but hell, the whole San Francisco 49ers were down last year. But if Debo steps in here, and he's now in a position like everyone thinks that a guy could just hit a light switch anyway and just turn it on, where he's in improvement mode. And that guy with that level of talent in improvement mode, I'll take my chance with him over a rookie.
Well, and so I was having a discussion.
And a rookie at a later damn round.
I was having a discussion with Grant a couple of weeks ago, and we're going back and forth. He wanted to trade a first for Hendrickson if that became available. And I said I did not. Part of it's obviously the context there. Like, of course, I'd trade a draft pick for Hendrickson, but it's the paying, the contract, and all that stuff. But to me, when it comes to it, some people look at it as like, well, they're drafting at 29, so what does it matter anyways? I think some people are so used to drafting high that they're like, oh, 29th pick, there's no guarantee. This doesn't let their scouting department, this doesn't let Adam Peters and those guys off the hook. Hopefully this team is picking in the 30s every year because you're playing for Super Bowls and you're playing for conference championships. So you still got to hit on those picks.
Are dumbfounded. They are dumbfounded when the ultimate thing is this. Everyone thinks that every team has all top 10 picks in the first round. Everybody's not that.
Mm-hmm.
Most teams are built and their nucleus and their core are guys from 3rd, 4th, 5th round. James Harrison was as effective as any damn defensive pass rusher you've seen in years. He was undrafted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to think that you can't find somebody at the 29th, that's not a smart move.
And this is where you have to earn your pay, right? Like to me, we love to give credit to people that get things right early on that are like picks that we could have made, right? Like, I'm not saying Jaden, but like for other example, because quarterback's so hard to get. But like if you draft some stud out of college that was a running back and like, congratulations.
What happens?
I watched him; he was good too.
Guys go out there, and this is what you see guys get drafted in the first round sometimes because guy may be projected late first, second, and then one team drafts a position, the other team, I got to get somebody in that position. Then it goes on a run of those guys, and then you see guys who were legitimate first rounders get pushed back deep later into that round. Sometimes they get pushed out of the first round to the second round. And the mindset is just, we need a first rounder, we need a first rounder. Our best receiver was not a first rounder, right?
Yeah, no question. 3rd rounder.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when you start, I understand, there are a lot of guys who get drafted, then they stop working. There are a lot of guys who get drafted, then they really work even harder. And if you got a person with the mindset of a Terry McLaurin, I don't care if he's a first rounder, second rounder, 3rd rounder, he's going to be effective for your football team.
So one thing that I think is interesting is there's a couple of pass rushers that have some stuff swirling around off the field. Mike Green has had some stuff swirling around about him off the field. Maybe it drops him down some draft boards. I think James Pierce has had some things that have swirled around off the field that have been discussions about whether he's going to slip down. Because talent-wise, I think both those guys are top 15 players. Yeah. But maybe they slip down the draft board. Before, I don't think that this was a team that was built to say, we're going to take a chance on someone with a potential character risk.
Huh?
Do you think that the locker room, the culture, the building is more set up that obviously you have to do your background. You don't want anyone in here that's going to be, a long-term problem. But if you think that you can bring them in here and get them in order, is that something that you're willing to do at 29 now? And now that you feel like the building's more in order, or is that still something that you're shying away from?
Depending on what that
what the
allegations or what the situations are. Hell, remember Tunzel?
Yeah.
He dropped in the draft, didn't he? Still around, right?
Tunzel had a
Still
nice,
one of the best
little mask on before. What was that? So, the night before the draft. Yeah.
Now that's not even illegal anymore.
No. Yeah, and it's not even talked about either.
So it's like it's depending on what the person is accused of. Because I will say this: every time you hear a rumor about a guy off the field, it's not 100% true.
Absolutely.
Because hell, I know when I was coming out in 1990, it was all kind of crap. Okay, I got asked a question from one of the scouts or guys with affiliated with the team, and I'm like, "That's my brother," because my name is Brian Keat. My brother's name is Michael Bryan. It was a police officer in my hometown who was a straight ass. He always held me. He held me at fault because his son didn't make it. His son was awful. His son, my boy today, he couldn't play football. He was smart as hell. He's an engineer.
Sure.
But he was not a good football player.
Not a football player.
And this dude gave my brother's criminal packet to a scout. So I started getting questioned about fucking tests and selling drugs. And I'm like, I never flunked the test and I never sold a damn drug. I say, but I know my brother did. But think about that.
Yeah.
So you have to deal with that.
Sure.
And sometimes, who's to say who they talk to that started a rumor?
Yeah, I mean, you never want to take someone that's obviously going to have done something that's,
How about the guy at Georgia with the accident?
And
what is he doing now?
So
balling.
That's my point. Is Jalen Carter was probably the most talented guy in that draft,
yes.
right? And he falls down the draft board because of the stuff that happened. Has anything been a problem since his time in Philadelphia? And they got the most talented guy in the draft.
Let me ask you a question, man. Most
to catch-22,
18 to 22-year-olds do some stupid stuff.
Jeff, can you attest?
Well, when he was 22, he's 31. He still do it. But most people have done some. The thing that really annoys the hell out of me, that people all of a sudden hit 30, 40, 50 and act like they never lived before. If they just think about, it's social media out there now.
Yeah.
And if you just heard that a guy, he was driving fast, or this, that, that's all you heard?
Yeah.
If all you hear is that he was a fast driver or he may have had a fight, that's not nothing serious.
It is a problem.
Because back when I was in college, they didn't have no social media.
Yeah, it is a problem.
There's a lot more crap going on.
How fast stuff can fly around, especially stuff that isn't true.
Yeah.
Obviously the stuff that is true, you need people to be held accountable, but stuff that is not true, the quickness in which it can spread like wildfire is really frustrating.